Hi everyone. To everyone who's plugging in today, we have Vani Saraswathi Balgam, or more popularly Vani as we know her, joining us here. Vani is a visual storyteller, a writer, director, and a creative producer with several award winning shorts and documentaries to her credit. She's had a prolific career, being the head of creative management for DreamWorks in Shanghai and the executive director for Rhythm and Hues, which, as we all know, was the Multi Academy Award winning animation and VFX studio. She's also been the president of ASIFA India for nearly 10 years and chaired the Women in Animation India chapter. When she's not involved in all of this, she's also bringing her entire experience, founding her own studio, DancingAtoms Studio, which is an animation development studio, which is focused on bridging the gap between the North American storytelling and voices in the Asian animation industry. They have a very strong focus on IP, particularly kids' content and animated feature films. Um, and as someone who's been pioneering this cause, who better to talk to us about how do we go about pitching a perfect project, or rather, a pitch perfect? So over to you, Vani.
Thank you so much, AGIF, for having me here. This is so amazing to be a part of what you're doing. I am honored actually, and I'm also feeling so excited to meet all of you. I got the opportunity to meet Rituparna after a lot of conversations online, so it was great to actually see her in flesh and blood. And Snigdha and Pratik, and to everybody in your team, congratulations for doing the second year of AGIF. I'm very, very thrilled to be here and share my experience with all of you. Lots of love. Yes. So thank you for the introduction. And this is going to be, I would love, I know it's being posted on YouTube, and some questions will come in from friends and people that know me and stuff like that. I'm just going to walk you through my journey a little bit, and then we'll talk a little bit about pitching, and we'll talk a little bit about what is the point of doing all of this holistically. Let me see if this is working. All right. Let me know if you can see my screen. Yep.
Yes,
All
everything
right.
good.
Perfect. So, Dancing Atoms, a little bit about us. We're a small boutique studio based out of Mumbai, as well as Indore and Los Angeles. It's founded by me. You already heard about all the great things that I've done in my past. My entire focus for the last many years has primarily been about how to bring Indian content to the world and how to do it right and how long it takes to do it right. And we'll talk about that as we go. I love writing for children. There's also a lot of adult stuff, but I've not put it out there. But I love telling stories that are about Indian families, the little things that, you know, about the human element, which is what story is all about. So here are some of the projects that I'm working on. You can go to the website and check them out. Having run one of the most amazing studios in the world, which was Rhythm and Hues, I do a lot of consultation for a lot of people, help them out either set up a studio or anything to do with VFX. Um, I'm also a animation. Apart from being an animation director, I also do a lot of live action work. I've done over 10, maybe 11 proof of concept feature film, but in the form of shorts, and we won several awards on many of them at Dancing Atoms. Virtual production is something that was very, very new to me, using the real time game engine, and how that basically changed my life. And I'll talk a little bit about that. It's a great tool to visualize. It's a great tool to fail faster because it allows you to visualize what you're thinking on paper and then put it on the real-time engine, move your cameras with just some dummy characters that are available online for you to tell your story and time your story. So you're jumping a lot of stages to see cinematically how your film can be done. And I've worked very closely with Unreal for the last 4 years, and it's been a tremendous learning experience for us, for our studio, for all the people that are involved in it. We're doing a lot of short films in co-production. We just finished partnering with a wonderful studio in Delhi called Tavrohi, and we did another short film with Meta VFX, which is in Hyderabad. And both were two films that were selected in the Unreal Short Film Challenge, and both the films got selected, and we did amazing work on those projects. Um, what we call as ICVFX is a very important tool as well, again for storytelling. Um, this is yet to be used in the way that cameras have come and changed the way, like little phones where we pick up our phones and we start telling stories. I feel like ICVFX is the future of filmmaking as well. So I love learning. I constantly love picking up new technology to see how I can embed a lot of the things and continue to tell stories differently. This was a film which was recently pitched at Film Bazaar. After several years, I think about 8 or 9 years of not being selected, we finally made it into the selection process, and it was in the co-production market that we got to pitch an animated feature film, which was a great experience and a great learning. This is another live action film that was meant for a feature called Raj Lost and Found. And it's won several awards all around the world. But I'm hoping that I can now, with this reputation, probably take it and finish it and make it the feature film that I've always wanted to. These are some more short films. Yeah. I was mentioning AGIF earlier, and this is something that I absolutely want to talk about because I believe in community building. And I think while we are in the process of achieving what we really want to achieve, it's equally important to find your tribe, to find your voice, to find your people. And it doesn't matter where you find them, but it's important that you find them. So I believe that community building is a very, very important process in growing the community around India. And these are some of the communities that I've absolutely loved and helped. We just recently, about 3 years ago, along with Epic Games, started this Women Creators program, which was primarily focused on promoting women in India. And then we did 25 women in India. We did a 5-week training program. It was a paid program thanks to Epic Games. And it was phenomenal. The success was great. And then we did the second year and the third year. This year we did with Epic Games, I think about 100 women from 19 countries, 8 different time zones, and we had a concept to trailer for games. So part of my storytelling process has always been that don't just look at one thing. While you're creating something, always remember to look at your IP, for example, and take a look at what your IP can translate into. Just not one idea, but how you can think as you're writing. First, you write whatever comes out, but then start networking and start meeting people and say, hey, can I make a graphic novel out of this? Because a feature film might take me 10 years or 8 years to create. Can I maybe work with a gaming studio and say, what if I made this content also as a game? Because I've already invested time and energy in the character design, in character writing, in the narrative, in the conflicts of the project. So I always think in different ways. It's like I don't want to call it multitasking. I think the way that we used to think in the olden days, maybe I'm saying 10, 15 years ago, where we said, oh, I want to make a film, and we just focused on making a film. And that was cool, but I think we have to start doing narratives very, very differently. Even a 1 minute narrative, like pulling out those 1 minute TikTok shots or the YouTube shots with your animation with the same characters helps you put yourself out there. So that's basically what our goal is as at Dancing Atoms, is how to educate ourselves and then how to spread that awareness, that think bigger, think lateral, think linear, think horizontal, think in a circle, but just think. So yeah, I think those are basically what I wanted to share. And it has been such a great experience also working with Tribeca in New York and putting the Writing in Unreal program out there. I've been a mentor of over 140 Unreal short films in the last 3 years. So I've gained that experience to say, what are we doing in terms of getting our emotional concepts out there. And really, really excited for India to take things forward. I was supposed to go to SIGGRAPH Asia this year, but I just couldn't make it. But SIGGRAPH is very, very important as well. There's the Sony Talent League team that I've been a mentor for. So apart from creating, writing, I also believe that it's extremely, extremely important to give back. And so a part of what I wanted to share with everybody was, no matter what you do in terms of your development and creating your concepts, always do what AGIF is doing, is create that space for creatives to come together. You know, what ASIFA India is doing, what Women in Animation India Collective is doing. The more we are, the more collective that we all come together and represent India as a creative force. That is the goal for us, or at least for me. I believe like that's absolutely the goal.
No,
Um,
definitely very aligned with that.
um, I I know that you wanted me to share the pitch deck process in terms of how to pitch a concept and how to put it out there. And let me see if I can pull out that slide. If there are any questions that are coming in, feel free, Snigdha. I'll be happy
Sure. Yeah.
to do that. Um, so, for me, after this is just a very rough template, there's no right or wrong. So, I'm going to go through this template and just through um, walk you through this, and then we'll talk about the challenges of doing this, right? So most of the projects that I have done so far or continue to develop, I probably end up doing like 20 drafts, 30 drafts, and even maybe 35 drafts of this pitch deck, like literally polishing, polishing, polishing. Once we have a basic idea, I I'm not one of the best writers, but I have found that there's no such thing as a good writing or bad writing. You just write. You know, the more you write, the better you get tomorrow. You know, if I don't understand a word, I go to the vocabulary and find a word, or find 100 words that would signify that one emotion. So writing is one of the most crucial things. If you're not a writer yourself, if you're not the person with ideas, then partner with somebody and start putting your concepts together. I have this practice where almost every day I will write something. You know, I'll just take any idea that comes to my mind and I'll put it out there on a paper and just say, oh, I had this idea, and I may not have the beginning, middle, and end, but I'll try very hard to do my beginning, middle, and end. But I'll put it out there to just say, I scribbled something today or I wrote something today. So once I have the idea of putting together, I will first, sometimes it's very, very, very hard to come up with a project title, because it is how do you express all of that in one title? You know, how do you express love? A million movies have been made all around the world, but you still want to write another love story. And how do you get your audience to pay attention with the help of your title? So the first thing is obviously like your title of your project. It could be an animated film, it could be a web series, it could be a game, it could be anything. So we always need a title. So, you know, and then the duration of the project. This is one of the most important things that I like to put at the initial stages of my pitch deck. But when I go into presenting to the client, this may not be my second slide. It might be my last slide. It all depends on who I'm pitching to and what I'm pitching to. But inspired is a very, very important thing. Is it inspired by a visit that I had at the doctor's, or is it inspired by a conversation I had with the rickshaw guy, or, you know, it is inspired by the love of my mother, you know, whatever that is. It's a very personal journey that you, as a writer, creator, director, producer, are putting all your energy and attention into creating that one small little element. And so it becomes very, very important to say it out there, write why are you creating it. And so the inspired slide stands for that. Now, this is a very important thing, is a lot of the times the authenticity that we are looking at, um, is why are you, or why am I the right person to tell this story? Why, not in terms of technical know-how, not in terms of anything else, but why is this so specific and authentic? There was a term that was used recently called um, hyper local. And I was like, what does that mean? And people are throwing new terminology in the film industry, but hyper local literally means that you're taking me to a world where it's your world, and it is so unique, and the characters are so unique that only you can craft it. So the story, whatever that we do, the authenticity is an extremely important part of storytelling. So I like to write that down for me, and also for the client that I'm pitching to say, this is why I think it is very important. It could be about where I live in Mumbai, in Mud Island, and I live among a lot of fishermen and fisherwomen, right? And so it's a story about a cat that is in Mud Island and has eaten all the fish that's probably there, but is waiting for that one fish that it can never find. I'm just making up a story right now. So now I've become hyper local, and I've given you a visible visual in just two lines that that's my cat, and my cat has a desire. So now I'm getting that authentic specificity of why I need it to be there, because you're that much more interested, because I'm giving you that specificity, and not just generally it's about a cat, but it's about a cat that is lost one leg, and now you're more interested because I've given it a few more details. So that's how you build on your authenticity of your project. um, this is a question that most people, I think, that are starting, um, don't ask, and even me for that matter. I am haunted by this question. Like, who is my audience? Is my audience 3 to 6 year old? Is my audience 6 to 9? Is my audience adult? When I say adult, like anyone above 18, right? Is my audience a teenager? Is it, then I get into the specificity of my audience, like, is this targeted towards girls? Is it targeted towards boys? Is it targeted towards mothers? Is it targeted towards fathers? But knowing your audience is very important, and finding that awareness and asking those questions is, who is my audience, right? In India, we are not taught that very much, primarily because we don't know how to go about it. Thank you. We don't know how to go about it, and and so we're always looking at films, because from childhood we are always going and coming back. From childhood we're just watching movies of whatever we can. So it becomes very, very difficult to say understand the language, of audiences and age, because in the West, in Europe, wherever you go to pitch your project, they always ask you this question, like, who is your audience? We are born and brought up in Indian cinema, and we just are watching TV with our parents since we are children. There is no filtering for us. So this is an important thing to know what your audience is. Another thing, in terms of story point of view, that was more from a business point of view. From a story point of view, I always make, um, what will my audience take away from this film? What do I want my audience to feel? What Why will my audience care about these characters? Where is that empathy factor? uh, will I feel pain if that character, will my audience feel pain? So this goes back to the writing part of it, to say who is your audience is for the client, but what will my audience take away is for you, the writer and the creator, to answer some of those questions. I love to give a very simple one liner about what my project is. For example, when I pitch it to the client, I call it, they should get it. They should get whatever that is in that maybe 3 sentences at the max, or maybe 4 sentences, to say my project is about blah, blah, blah. I've learned in the last 5, maybe 8 years of pitching directly to people all around the world is it's not about what you're saying, it's about what is it that you're not saying. It's an art. And are you saying the wrong things? Also is an art, and that'll only come when you do 100 pitches. So, to everyone that is listening, don't feel shy. Of course, make sure that you have your project. Please make sure the first thing is, if you're in India, go to SWA, which is the Screenwriters Association. Ask a friend to refer you, or go to SWA online and just register your script. That's the first and the most important thing. Even if it's a basic idea, even if it's half a page, even if it's badly written, even if it's poorly drawn, just doesn't matter. Always make sure that you protect yourself and you put yourself on um, SWA, and in the in and you can also do WGA, which is the Writers Guild of America, and I think it's about $20, which comes to about 1,600 rupees to safeguard your material. And then there's the copyright, which is about $65 in the US. I think it's about 3,000 rupees in India. But make sure that you're going and putting yourself, taking your concept and copywriting your characters, copywriting whatever else that you want to do in the right place, so that you are aware that you have protected yourself, because no one's going to tell you to do that. So the most important thing is to protect yourself. Going back to the log line, basically what I wanted to say is conflict moves the story forward. It's drama and conflict that move the story forward. Whatever it is, it's conflict that moves the character forward or the story forward. So we don't understand this, or I struggled a lot to understand this when I started writing. uh, but the one of the biggest takeaways that I've taken from most of the films that I've watched is the decision making of the character is what is the character's at a place where he or she, or the character, has to make a decision, and that decision is going to require certain sacrifices, is going to demand certain sacrifices. It's going to be either humorous, or it's going to be ironic, it's going to be uplifting, it could be black humor, I don't know, whatever it is, but it's that choice is what is the most important thing. So when something happens, the character must do something, which is the choice, before this happens, right? So this is basically the idea of the log line, where before I start writing anything, 500 pages, 200 pages, 100 pages, 50 pages, I kill myself. And I cannot tell you how many times I end up writing and rewriting the log lines till I get it right. Because if I'm not able to convey my idea in the shortest duration to my own self and to my audience, then I'm wasting their time. So, and I'm very, very careful about how much time I take up for somebody else when I'm pitching a project. So this is what I love writing, which is the log line, which I think is the heart of your project. It gets across the message. Then, as I said, in whether if you're writing for a feature, if you're writing for TV series, if you're writing for children's TV series, it's very easy. It's easy, but it's very scientifically difficult. But just kind of writing your couple of sentences, what happens in the beginning, what happens in the middle, what happens in the end, is something that you write. um, Even while I'm thinking about writing, I am influenced by music to take my stories forward. I think music first, and sometimes it's music that drives me to write something. So I'm constantly thinking about the mood, the emotion, um, and I'm thinking about instruments already in my mind. Like I'm thinking, oh, I think that tanpura is going to be phenomenal over there, or that sarangi. Oh my god, I absolutely want to use my Indian instruments over there. So I'm referring, I'm talking to musicians as well. Parallelly, I'm always in touch with all the creative forces around me, because that's what filmmaking is all about. That's what all project ideation is all about. Is it's teamwork. It's not one person doing everything. That you are making the time to go and listen to a band that's playing in Warsaw or in Andheri or in Delhi somewhere in Connaught Place. But it's very, very important to know what music feels like and what music elevates us. Um, and so music style references are an idea that I put down. Sound effects is, of course, characters and their details. There's a huge, I'll be happy to share it with all the people later, or you can Google it yourself, or I'll share it with you in a bit. World building is very, very important. Like the details of your world, the magic of your world and animation that you want to bring about. You can't suddenly write Avatar and say this is what's going to happen. Like they have probably asked maybe 20,000 questions about Avatar before they decided what the Navi world is going to look like. What are the dynamics? What happens if that tree dies? What happens if a butterfly is not born there? You have to get into the details of your world building, and so the environments are very, very important in producing what you need. What is a character arc? Character arc can be very different for different people, but literally, I go back to the character arc and connect it with the log line, which in the log line we call the inciting incident. So, in the character arc, we are saying a character as a regular character has a particular dream or a desire, need and want, as they call it. And for that character to get to the end, there is an evolution that happens. Either there's a heartbreak, or there's a loss in the family, or a loss of a cycle. It could be an internal emotion that they're going through, or an external thing that happens, like a tsunami hits in and then their world kind of changes, but the character goes through a major arc. And so when we pitch, it's important for the client to understand that the client doesn't care, because the client is trusting you to produce this project. The client believes that you know every detail about your project. Every breath of that character, the DNA of that character, is something that you, as the writer, creator, director, are aware of. So when we write the character arc, it's not about writing superficially that, oh, he was a shy guy before or a shy girl before, and then kind of opened up and became an extrovert. No, that is just very superficial in the writing. But you really have to show what are the challenges that the person went, emotionally, physically, spiritually, in all little physical, all the tiny details are something that you have worked out. And then when you put this on that page about the character arc, you're being very specific about the details. As I'm writing, another thing that I like to put out there before the script is to say, just like how we talked about the log line, I always like to say, what is my trailer going to look like? What's my teaser going to look like? How efficient is my teaser going to be to get the message across in 30 seconds? What will my script be for the teaser? Because investing a lot of money in writing an entire screenplay for a feature, or whatever that you're writing, takes a lot of effort, right? But if you want to get funds, if you want to move forward and either do crowdfunding, or go to a producer, or team up with a studio and say, this is what I'm trying to do, you have thought 10 steps ahead, you know in saying, when the teaser is going to make, this is my teaser, and the teaser is going to have this particular hook in it, or it's going to have this tone of humor in it. It's going to be for children, so I can't put a hook in it because children need to know exactly what's happening, so I'm going to leave it at that. But if it's for a children's show that is between 9 and 12, then you definitely need to, put an adventure and put a hook, so the children are like, oh, you're talking to a very different age group, so you need to know your age group, you need to know your conflict, you need to know your hook and all that stuff when you're writing your teaser and trailer. So I love this exercise a lot. um, of course, everybody understands what the storyboard does with your script. So once I've written my beats from my script, I start doing some very, very bad doodles of like, okay, this is what's gonna happen, and I'm not a great drawer. I'm very jealous of those who can. So I do very little, very bad stick figures, and I'll just say very poorly, like angry or like sad. So when I do the storyboarding, it helps me a lot to understand the tone of my project. It tells me the timing, the beat, um, of how I'm going with my edit as well, because storyboard kind of gives you all that material well in advance. Color script. I love color. Absolutely love color and dig color, and I think that's one of my um, favorite things is color. As much as sound changes the tone and the emotion of your film. And doing a beautiful color script is not easy. But writing down your emotional journey of your character and giving that color to express love, to express anger, to express hatred, to express guilt, color to express the environment that you're in, color to express the clothes of the character, color to express the skin of the character. There's so much that the detailing of color can uplift your film in so many ways that I end up doing with my artists a lot of color scripts, like a lot of detailed color scripts, because color emphasizes all of that. So, color with lighting is another pass that I take. But I do very rough. I wish I had my iPad, I could have shown you. But I just like literally say, like, okay, like she's feeling good, so I will think what is a good for me. It might be orange juice, and suddenly I'll say, oh, orange makes me feel good, so oh, what else is orange? Oh, I'll say marigolds are orange. Great, perfect. Then should I just put like a vase of marigolds over there, or is this frame going to be more orange because I want it to pop out? So you're thinking emotion, character, location, lighting, timing, a lot of the details, and then you start putting in some very simple references to abstractly put everything together in your color script. We talked about the inciting incident in the log line as well when something happens. The inciting incident is not once, it happens many, many, many times for different characters at different levels. Something happens to the main character, which drives the film forward, or the short film or whatever forward, and something else happens to somebody else, which moves them and propels them in another direction. So, in the entire feature, you end up writing about 60 to 80 scenes in an average feature film. There are about 60 scenes, I think, 60 to 80. um, and then your beats, every beat needs to have like something that it starts with something and ends with something. It's charged very differently, so the inciting incidents are constantly happening throughout the film, which are moving your project forward. And an inciting incident is something should not have happened and it happened, or something was expected to happen and something else happened. And so now the choices of the character are changing dynamically, it's more active. And so the inciting incidents are very, very important. So I make a long list of things in that. Pitching to a client, sometimes it's good to have the inciting incidents in your side deck. You don't have to present it to them, but writing it down for yourself, if those questions come hurling at you, then you have kind of prepared for your pitch. So this is very important as well, because when you have your vision as a creator that you're presenting to a client, they may not be sure what you're talking about. They may not get that sense. But it's nice to say, hey, my film is a little bit like father and daughter. It's going to be this black and white. It's going to be this kind of a hand drawn animation. It's going to have that kind of a pacing, or the story is a father and daughter story, right? So you can then write more specifically that, no, I'm only looking at father and daughter for the stylization of the animation, and that's fine. And I'm looking at another movie for the story similar to. I'm looking at another movie for the tone of it. So you can pick 5 or 6 films and pick very specifically what out of that reference that you're presenting. So the client is pretty clear about what is it that is kind of happening. So that is very important. This again is if you're planning on shorts, if you're planning on applying for residencies, you should have your idea. Even when you're pitching to a producer, raising your money, you should say, hey, these are the places that I'd like to apply. Of course, your little bio, a little bit about yourself always helps. Your team, who are they? Because everybody knows it's a team effort thing. So they want to know if you have a studio attached, if you have thinking about 5 or 6 studios, then you put that. This was what I was mentioning way at the beginning, which was about copyright. So always in your deck, any material that you send out, whether it's 1 pager, 10 pager, a deck like this with visuals, or with text, whatever that you want to do, always mention that this is my registration number, so that even if they forward it to somebody else, which happens a lot of the times, because you're not in control once you send it out. So always protect yourself by putting in this basic information out there. What are you looking for? If someone knocks on your door and says, what do you need for your film? You should know exactly what you need for your film, for your project. You should say, I want $5 million. I want this, I want this, I want this. I want a producer who can manage all this producing part for me. I need a director to do this. Whatever you need, you should be very clear about what you need, because you never know if that question is going to come, but you're prepared for it. um, and last but least, if you have your social media contact, your contact information that you want to reach out to, all of this kind of comes in. So typically, when I'm pitching to clients, 20 slides is a good number to pitch your information with. If you have more visuals, like you want to put your storyboards in there or whatever else, then move the slides accordingly to take all the juicy stuff on the top, because studio execs um, hardly have enough time on their hands. So if I'm doing a pitch in a video call, and it's a 30-minute call that I'm making with somebody to pitch my project, the first 5 minutes is social. How are you? How is your family? Whatever. The last 5 minutes, I always like to leave the last 10 minutes for questions. So 30 minutes, 15 minutes are gone. I've got left with 15 minutes. Now, in 15 minutes, I want to make sure that my pitch time of my project is not taking more than 7 minutes at the max. So I'm giving myself that flexibility to spark the interest. I'm not expecting anything more from my pitch. All I'm expecting is someone to respond to my creativity. All I'm expecting is someone to appreciate the effort that I've put in. But also, pitching is a very beautiful thing. It's like, um, how do I put it? It actually gives you a lot more than you realize it. So I believe that most of my projects have improved so much because I got to pitch it to a lot of great people, and they had great ideas to say, oh my god, I absolutely love that. Now when 5 people say that, you now know that that piece is working. On your humor, if the humor is not working, they will not laugh. So you will know whether you have done the right balance there. And if you haven't, then you go back and say, oh, that didn't land that laugh that I was expecting, or that didn't land that yeah, yo moment when I was pitching. And so, how do I change that? And so, pitching makes you pitching makes your project so much better. So that was an example of um, a basic format of a pitch deck that I follow. I think I'm
Thank
done.
you. Thank you for sharing that. That was quite helpful. Like it was very, very structured, and I think it kind of gives you a good, uh, like you said, like I think different people kind of follow very different sort of formats, and I think it needs to kind of be adapted as you're pitching to different kind of audiences, different kinds of studios. A lot of times, the kind of attention that people have, you probably need to work that through. But I think having like the long form and then being able to edit it back is where you know where the other creativity sort of like peaks.
Right.
Yeah. So just a few questions that have kind of rolled in, and I'll just share those with you. This is coming in from Sanjana, who wants to know: do you have any tips for a fresher on how do you start approaching studios?
Uh, do you have any?
Tips for someone who's a fresher to how do they start approaching studios?
You want to approach a studio for what? Do you want to approach as an intern? Do you want to approach with an idea? Do you want to approach, like, does she give you any clarity on how
Just
to pitch to a studio? Or
getting a little more insight into that right away. In the meantime, yeah. So, I mean, you yourself have worn many hats, right? This is coming in from another person, Rohit. You've worn many hats. You've been a writer, you've been a producer, you're a director. So now, at this whole pitching process, at what time do you think which person or part of the the which role would you kind of switch to? And you worked across the sort of spectrum, but for somebody else who needs to maybe partner up, etc., at what point do you start reaching out and collaborating to build this up to fruition in a sense?
so, if I understand the question, we are all here as creators
Right.
to serve the script. I cannot say it enough, and I've learned it by pitching. You know, it is not about me as an individual, you as an individual. Let's say the three of us are going to pitch a project. At the end of the day, the producer who's coming and saying, I'm going to make sure that this film happens, then there's a financer who's saying, I'm going to put in 1 crore, 2 crores, 10 crores, 20 crores, whatever that money is. Then there is a distributor that is coming in and saying, I believe you and I believe that we will make money. See, the thing is that the idea is one thing, but from that idea to execution to deliverables, and then from deliverables to visibility, is money, right? Nothing can move without money, whether it's your personal pocket money that you have saved, whether it is somebody else's money that you're asking for. You have to understand that we are in the business of entertainment. It is art, but it is business. Because if my project does well, if it is a successful project, then I'm going to get additional money for people to invest in my next concept. And so you have to understand the pipeline. So if I'm playing, for example, if I'm writing and I think I'm not a good writer and I need a comedy writer to come on board. I'm just using that as an example. I write really good comedy, by the way. But if I want a comedy writer to come for Hindi and put some dialogues, which I'm good in Telugu, but I can't do in Hindi, then I will reach out to that person and say, boss, you're king for this. Come, help me make the script stronger, right? And so you should know internally what your superpowers are. And if you don't know, when you pitch, you will know what your superpowers are, because pitching is like standing naked and putting your concept out there and waiting for a reaction from somebody to say, I believe in it, right? Now from that belief to investment to deliverables to distribution to visibility is a long chain, right? If that is for the commercial cinema, if you're thinking about a short film and you just want to go to festivals, even in the festivals you want to raise the right money from the right grants, from residency programs, from the government, from wherever that you want to raise money. you have to know what partnership you need. So that's why in that slide, for my own internal, I write down, these are the 50 people I need to make this happen. It's not me alone. I can't do everything because I will burn out. I need an experienced writer. And so the way that I'll pick a writer is, I would have seen a series on TV, or I would have heard a friend of mine saying, oh, that person writes extremely really good Hindi dialogues. I'm like, great, I'm going to reach out to that person and ask them to come on board. So that's how I use, or I would have watched a TV show for children. I would have said, oh my God, I absolutely love that character designer of that show. I'm going to reach to that character designer and say, can you do a character for me for my project? So now as a creator, that is the responsibility. Whether you're doing live action, whether you're doing animation, as a writer director, you are basically putting everybody together. 90% of that work is just that, putting everything together to make your vision a unified vision. So
Right.
whether it's picking the animators, the character designers, the music, the background artists, the modelers, the and whatever that you're doing, you are selecting, handpicking, you're doing it all yourself, which is also awesome. But if you want to do big things, then it becomes difficult for you to do everything yourself. You will need that team. You will need that support. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, I think. So yeah, I think we have more details from Sanjana. What she's referring to in particular is how do you approach a studio with an idea? Wo-
Yeah, that's great. How do you approach a studio with an idea?
Yeah,
You do research. For example, I want to make a film with somebody. I just want to make a film. I know this is my film that I want to make. I have my pitch deck ready, right? Once I have that, I've pitched it to my friends, to my family, to my dudwala, to my dhobi. I pitch it to everybody. I don't care who I'm pitching it to. You have 20 minutes, sit with me. And if it is somebody in Timbuktu, I will write to them on LinkedIn and say, dude, I just need 20 minutes. Can I send you a Starbucks coupon, or can I send you a Swiggy something for 200 rupees? Will you just please, I beg you, will you please listen to my pitch? Because I really want to see that response from you. So I do that. And once I've done that, approaching a studio is like finding the guy you want to fall in love with. It is not easy because you're going to be with that studio. If it's a short film, it's not going to be less than 6 months to 8 months. If it is a feature film, it's not going to be less than 4 years. If it is a TV series, it's not going to be less than 5 years of a relationship. Correct? This is filmmaking, pitching your concepts is all about being extremely understanding about the relationships you want to build with people. And you have to put yourself in their shoes first. So if I want to go to Studio X, I have to first understand that the Studio X, does this Studio X need me? What am I bringing to them and why would they need me? So I will not stalk, but I will do all the research that I need to know about the owners, the team people. Is there anybody that I know who works in that studio who will talk for me, who will support me, right? Um, what has this studio, animation studio, I'm assuming, or a distribution studio, it doesn't matter who it is, are they looking for a project like mine? Are they in the kids space? Are they in the adult space? Are they in the what is that studio going to bring to me? you know is it just bringing in talent, or does the studio already produce a lot of films that have won certain awards, so that way that studio is more recognized in my strategizing things? So as a writer creator, you're strategizing 90% of the time. Creativity is a huge part of the equation, which is what the pitch deck allows you to, but you are 10 steps ahead of thinking um, all those questions. It's not that simple to say, how do I approach a studio? It's research, you know. And why A studio, B studio, C studio? So I basically end up picking 4 to 5 studios before I approach everybody. Then I say, this is what my project is, and find that chemistry, find that connection, because I'm going to be with them for a long time. I'll be working with them for a long time, and also see if they respect you and they respect your vision. Otherwise, it's going to be a hell. It's going to be miserable if you end up with the wrong person, right?
Yeah, I think you use the
Uh,
perfect analogy there. Like if it's going to be a long-term relationship, then you need to think that through.
yeah. It's like
We have
birthing a
one.
child.
We have a slightly tangential question, but I think given your expertise, considering you've worked across the spectrum with other kinds of studios as well, this is coming into someone who's talking about like if they're very eager to break into the Indian animation industry, but will the
Uh-huh.
lack of an animation degree kind of hinder their job prospects? What are some of the core skills or like tips that you could possibly help, which are, as someone who's been part of hiring and managing huge amounts of team, what are the skill sets that you think are very, very crucial for somebody who's hiring?
I'm going to put it on record that I'm a 10th fail. Okay, so I I don't understand any of these things. I only understand the drive. So, as a recruiter, that I've recruited um, over 2,000 some people in my life, and I've been very thankful for doing that. And every time I have seen somebody's resume, I read it, but I put it away. And I never go on basis of what that resume says. It's important, but I don't think if you talk to anybody that have worked with me at Rhythm and Hues or at DreamWorks or any of the other places that I have, or even the people that work with me, I only go basis on two things. One, I trust the person that I'm talking to. Um, Two, I believe intrinsically the person that is applying wants to be the best at what they do. Because we all do. I don't think we wake up and say, I'm going to do the worst job today in my life. I don't think we wake up like that. I don't think we go to work saying, I'm going to do the dirtiest animation today. No. You wake up and say, I'm going to do the most amazing thing that everybody is going to look at me and going to give me the thumbs up, and I'm going to be the star for today. We all want that. So as a fresher, as a person, even if you're from another industry and are planning to shift to do whatever that you want to do, breaking the boxes, which is what I did, is you just have to exhibit who you are, you know your drive, and that's all that matters. Nothing else matters, because at the end of the day, the person that is investing time and money in you wants their project, wants their studio, wants their whatever to go forward, not backwards, just like you. So when you're partnering with anybody, whether it's an employee employer relationship, whether it's a partner relationship, whether it's a friendship, it is all about evolution. So education does not mean degrees. Education means this understanding that I want to be awesome, and I'm intrinsically awesome. Believing in yourself is the juice, is the most important thing. Is I believe I can do this. I suck at it, but I can do it. If you just go in with that attitude and you prove them wrong, right? You prove them wrong. But then don't keep proving wrong all the time, because then you are exhausted proving yourself. Just get in there, enjoy, show your commitment. I think that is another very important piece of the equation of education, is your commitment to something. When you're coming on board, if someone is going to invest time, money in you, I think what they're really asking for is, will you deliver what you've come here for? And if you excel above and beyond what was demanded, then nobody can stop you. Like, you will be wanted by that company or by that studio. I think I answered it.
I think brilliantly. Thank you so much for that.
Okay.
If Under the Pants is still listening in, that was for you.
Oh, I just also wanted to tell you I did finish my education. I failed, but I finished, and I'm I just that I had to say because my mother will be like, "You're ruining," and my mother-in-law will be like, "You're ruining our like our image of you to everybody out there saying you can be a TED fail." No, no, I failed, and then I studied very, very hard to finish my BA and my MA and all that stuff just to please my mother.
Right. Another question regarding the aspect of pitching. I think we hear the word elevator pitch fairly frequently. So how important is that? And are there any specific tips that you had that like you said, like the pitch deck itself is fairly exhaustive. How do you kind of what is the essence that you kind of distill down to, say, like a 2 minute elevator pitch that we keep hearing about?
So basically, it's that one log line that I mentioned about, right? Like the first three slides are basically, why am I doing it? What is the project about? And who is my audience? That's literally the elevator pitch. So for my projects, I wish I could share them all. We'll do a masterclass later where I can actually pull out my projects and show it later for another meeting or whatever. But I have 4 pitch decks for every project. So I have a 2-minute pitch deck where I have it ready on my phone, on my iPad, on my laptop, wherever. All the four versions are there. So suddenly, if I find somebody who says, "What is this project about?" I have my 2-minute 5 slides to say. So the most important thing is visually, I'm talking about, is a poster, right? Like once you have a poster of your project, that literally tells everything. It talks about lighting, it talks about character, it talks about mood, it talks about tone, it talks about the title, it talks about everything. So you take any of the most beautiful projects in animation, live action, and I do tons and tons of research on the poster design because that is your landing card, right? If you show one visual and 4 sentences, which is your log line, that should open up the doors for you. So that is in general your elevator pitch. If you don't have the financials or the know-how of doing the character, if you're a character designer, great. But if you're not a character designer and you're struggling and you can't put the poster together, I have seen in at DreamWorks when I would take a lot of pitches, right? People would do jugad. They would just put Bruce Lee over there and they would put, you know, Deepika Padukone over there, and they'd say, okay, Deepika Padukone falls in love in her dream with Bruce Lee. That I get it. I don't need anything more. You've pulled it off by taking 2 images that I know, and I have a film. And what is it? It's a trippy film. Okay, great. Now you're going to put some Goa trance music in the back, and you're going to put some mushrooms in the back. You set the tone quickly, right? You do whatever you can do to get the idea across. That's your elevator pitch. If you have the funds, you have the team, you do it the right way. Spend 6 months, kill yourself, do that. If you don't have it, just get into the habit of every day creating a poster with one of your ideas, like this example that I just threw. It's such a great experience because um I'll just take this room. The lights are in love with the air conditioner, and now they have to come out to fall in love with the air conditioner, but the air conditioner can't move, and the light wants to take a romantic dinner. Now just make up a story. Like you just take a picture of like an air conditioner and put some eyes on it, just doodle something on it. You have a character. So it's really about expressing an idea. My glasses are in love with your glasses. Now they have to come out to fall in love with your glasses. And how are they going to do it? And it's a journey about a glass that is going to find the other glass, right? From Hyderabad to Mumbai. And so, what are all the things that will happen? So, just think what would that idea be and how you're going to present it visually, and then how would you present it through your log line, which is what I shared earlier. Then my second pitch deck is what I call the 7-minute pitch deck, which is a little bit more detailed, which has all the information um, and the character arc, the beats, those, like some basic scribbles, maybe what each character is going through, tone, style, everything that I presented. Then, so the 24 slides is the 8-minute, 7-minute pitch deck. Then I have a longer version, which is about, I would say, about 55 slides to 80 slides, where I put in 25 slides of research. It is happening, my film is happening in the slums of Vijayawada. Here are the slums. This is my topic. It's happening on a female girl child, and so I will do all the research and details about stories, and I'll probably also pick some characters and news and material. 99% of your film is research. It has to be, because it is someone else. You're trying to connect with a larger audience. So the more detailing and the more research that you put in, you should know, like that girl is carrying a backpack, and on her backpack is her mother who went to Vaishnav Devi, and she has given her like this red color chunri, right? That specificity, if I'm able to put into my film, nobody is going to question me. Like, they know that I've done my research. And that's the third pitch deck. And then the fourth one is really long. It's like the Bible that just goes on for 200 pages. And I do what I call um, the storyboard breakdown of the entire project. So then I'm walking them through the entire beats, like visually I'm doing the storyboard and saying this happens and this happens and this happens. Now they've got the whole idea in front of them. So those are the decks.
No, that was really, really helpful. I think like just iterating through that,
Thank
and having like more visibility on just how much you kind of reveal and build on. I think that's been very, very helpful.
Right.
Um, just a couple more questions, so and then we round it up on time. I know you've been very polite to like entertain us while you're still in a slightly more precarious situation, so we won't take too much more of your time. One is like, what do one, I think you mentioned it in terms of like registering your script, etc. That's more from a media perspective. But what are the other ways in terms of kind of registering your IP or an idea? How do you
What
do that?
what are the other ways? I don't think there are. I mean, like in today's world, especially with artificial intelligence and a lot of the other material that is, it will be. I mean, we just have to prepare for AI coming into our lives creatively and use it as a great tool.
Mm.
But copywriting is the only way. Like, the SWA, the WGA, there's the copyright law in the US and in India. So just go wherever you are in whichever part of the world, speak to a lawyer. Like, I always believe that we, again, I'm using this we in India a lot, I'm sorry about that, but we invest so much time and energy in one side, but we don't think of it in 10 other ways. Go to the people that are good at that. Don't try and be everything and everyone. Just spend that 2000 rupees, go to a lawyer and say, I'm a kid, I have no idea, I have this idea, what should I do with it? I only have 2000 rupees to give you. I don't even have 2000 rupees to give you. I can buy you lunch on Swiggy, sir. Can you please help me? What am I supposed to do? And trust me, the universe is there to help us. I have gone to people saying, I don't know how to do this. Can you please help me? And they have very politely said, oh, great. You have this, go to this website, register. Right? So don't be shy and say, I know everything. Don't be scared, because creativity cannot be scared. You can't be worried about it. Your responsibility as a creator is to create. Your responsibility as a creator is to protect yourself first, and then everything else falls. So definitely I would recommend that just Google right now and say lawyers near me and Google will tell you.
So thank you. I mean, I think it's very important. And like just came back to the other thought that you had, there are now, I think like there are certain groups and communities who are coming together to offer help
Right,
in
right.
terms of copyright and so on. So that's really, really helpful. We won't take too much more of your time, Saraswati.
That's fine.
Thank you so,
I
so
know
much.
you have another session to go to, so
No, not just that. I think like, I mean, what we would love to deep dive, and like you said, maybe it could be a masterclass, or maybe we do another engagement session,
right.
would be to kind of like maybe some of the samples of the pitches that you can talk about to really kind of deconstruct that a little bit more.
Right.
And yeah, like, go through the journey of like the hits and misses, and maybe like we all learn off of that. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say that to everybody, please take care of your health, you know, um, because this is in Hindi we say lambe gode ki race hai, that this is a race or this is a track that you are going to be on it, and you have to be fit emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially. You just have to be fit. So if you're troubled by anything, look to your right, ask for help. Look to your left, ask for help. There's always somebody. Never suffer alone. Mental health is a very important thing, so I highly request all of you to first and foremost take care of your health. And then the second thing is, um, I think it's called your narrative. You know, Rewrite your narrative. What if this does not happen? It's okay if it doesn't happen, right? It's not the end of the world. Like, I can't stress myself that I had to do this at this time and it's not happening at this time. I can't. I just have to say, okay, it's not happening now, right? And that's cool. So don't be in that, don't put undue stress on yourself. And I call it rewrite your narrative every day, so that you're more balanced and you're doing, you're enjoying the life, you're enjoying the process of pitching, and have patience.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of that. No wonder you make such a great mentor and have all this wisdom. Speaking of health, please, I hope you feel better, and we hope to have you here with us again soon. Thank
Yes,
you
and I'm
so
so
much.
sorry I could not make it in person. I would have absolutely loved to meet everybody
I,
tomorrow. Sending AGIF and all of you, Snigdha, Rituparna, Pratik, and your entire wonderful team, all the very, very best from me. Have a blast and post some pictures, and I'm going to see you all.
thank you. Thank you
Some
so much.
love.
Bye bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
Thank you for that.
Yes, bye.